Hello, and welcome to what has become the first installment of Two Idiots Talk About. I personally hate talking about things alone because I'm dumb and I have nothing interesting to say, but I want to talk about things. So I thought, let me bring someone else dumb to talk to me about things. And that person is Sarah Preston. Woo, Sarah, very smart, but also dumb. You get the idea. Sarah, she goes to Rice. She's an undergraduate. She studies earth and planetary science, geology. Cool stuff. Anyway, yeah. Two idiots talk about. Today we talk about Venus. Two Venus missions. Pretty cool stuff. We talked about it. Check it out.
Cool. I'm recording now. All right. I'm going to do an intro before this and say cool things about you. So we can skip an intro and we can just wait. You can introduce yourself if you want, if that makes you feel better.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sarah. I just finished my sophomore year at Rice University. I study Mars. This is like one of my favorite pictures of Mars. I don't know what else to say there.
Sarah's very smart.
I try.
Very smart. You heard it here
I,
first.
I get excited about things, and then I'm like, oh, I want to figure this out. Like I was at the climbing gym earlier, and this one kid told me like that she read somewhere that like the closest planet to Earth is Mercury, and the closest planet to Mars is Mercury, and so on and so forth with every other planet. I'm like, that's gonna bother me. I want to figure that out. Instead of Googling it like a normal person, I'm gonna like write code for it. Because I feel like knowing a little bit of code is like what it's like to be on cocaine for the first time. Because don't put this in the video.
This
But
is
I feel
definitely going
like
in the video.
you're like this much of coding. Like I can do anything I want. I'm completely unstoppable. There are no constraints on my ability to do things. So I feel like I know enough MATLAB that I'm like, I can definitely code this, but not enough MATLAB to make it not take multiple days to run. So we'll see what happens with that.
I resonate with that in so many different levels that you don't understand. I've never taken a programming class. Everything I've learned has been on my own, or like not on my own. I get help from people, but I've never actually learned anything like. So I always wonder like how like my best friend's a computer science major, and I always think like, oh, what if I learned it like actually theoretically and like with practicalities instead of like me with like my duct tape code. It's like I got it to work.
I've had duct
Um,
tape code. I was talking to Valerie earlier. I was like, oh yeah, like I've never written an efficient line of code in my life, but who cares? It takes 3 minutes to add 5 columns to a spreadsheet. Not me.
it doesn't matter because it's not like you need to. It's like you don't work for Google. Like I mean, it should be fine probably. That's what I think. I think that's like the whole. I think that's like a general science people who code, unless they're like astronomers, in which case it'll actually blow up. Um, and with with shoddy code being mentioned, let's talk about these Venus missions. That was a solid burn right there. Um, I want to add like air horns, like um, yeah. So this is cool. Two missions to Venus. And before we talk about the Venus missions, I want to talk about the like NASA release video thing, the announcement thing that they were doing. Do you have any opinions on it? Because I do, but I will wait.
Yeah, I watched it and honestly it was like, we're going to hell with spacecraft. But I feel like the video versus the response I saw from scientists to the video was like it was such a contrast, I guess. Like I don't think the video accurately captured how excited people were about this. Like it seemed very tame.
Mhm.
NASA administrators like, yeah, Venus, it's a planet. We haven't been there in a while. And everybody's like running around like, oh my gosh, we're going to Venus. We're starting to be able to Venus. Not people. Two missions to Venus. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, wow, I have such tunnel vision for Mars that I didn't realize how much tunnel vision I had for Mars.
No, I thought one, it looked like the like they had like an animated video before it like cuts to the like NASA announcer guy, and it looks like it's filmed in like 30p. Like it's I don't know why it's like they keep having these like effect. I think they were trying to do like Venus has a thick atmosphere, so we're gonna do like thick cloudy effects on the video, and I'm like, this just makes the video look like it was filmed in 2005. I I'm gonna get attacked by. I work for NASA, so someone's gonna attack me for this, but I don't. They should have consulted me, because it looks bad, and they could have made like a sharp quality, clear video, like, and it would have been like look way nicer. Because then when it cut to the NASA administrator with like the 4K or 8K camera standing there, and the guy, and also I agree that he was just doing the like. I mean, I don't envy that job because there's probably like a lot of government like rigmarole or that you have to like fill boxes and stuff of like saying things. But it was just like, like when somebody gives a good speech versus when somebody just like gives what should be a good speech. Like they just take sayings that should be like in a good speech, but it doesn't hit. It didn't hit for me. It seemed like people were way more excited about it. I agree. People seemed like super excited about it. I got on Twitter and like everybody was all the tweets are about Venus, and then all the tweets are about people saying all the tweets are about Venus. So I was like, that's how much they're talking about Venus.
Yeah, I almost feel like they should have announced it instead of like, here's an animated video that is very sci-fi-ish, and then we're gonna cut to the NASA administrator saying some things. They should have had it like how they do like the WNBA or the NFL draft, where they have like cameras of the people sitting in their house with their families, but it's just like the PIs. Because can you
Oh my
imagine
gosh. Oh,
somebody,
that's good. That would be
I don't
no, that would be a lot of pain. Like that would be super painful if you were the person who didn't, like you're the PI who didn't, but that's actually amazing. I want that right now. Who do I talk to make that happen?
I don't know.
That's actually hilarious. I want it to be like the WNBA where they're just like I want them to be sitting there with like the camera and their families, and like their mom is like behind holding the shoulders like
Yeah.
this like like, but it's like a 50-year-old dude, but his mom is still there holding his shoulders like it's gonna be okay, son. Um,
Or like
that
mom,
would be
like PhD advisor, like one on each shoulder.
that's actually even better. And then you could have like because then I think like you could have them like explain their excitement. I think those videos are always cooler when they have like like videos where they like cut between people saying like one sentence about something that makes them excited about it. I always think, at least me personally, especially when I don't understand the science, like in this case, I understand what's exciting better, but like say it's something with like when I watch like a CERN announcement or something, like about particle physics or something. To me, it's way cooler not when like the administrator comes out and just blah 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 blah, but like when they get like some of the like physicists on there and they're like freaking out and like saying like some of the cool things that they're like trying to like control their excitement. I think that's way more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. But we should talk about the actual, like, I guess the actual decision making and like of the the chosen of missions. Also, disclaimer: I don't know what I'm talking about. I
Yeah,
think
I
I'm going
also
to call this video. I think I'm going to call this video "Two Idiots Talking About Venus." If you're cool with that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So people who have this is like the perfect sweet spot. This is how I love entertainment. Is the perfect sweet spot of people who like know a little bit about what the thing is, but like not enough to like actually say something like to where you're listening to them and you're like you're saying something wrong. That's entertaining. I don't know why. So I thought everyone here's PIs talk about how they feel. Now let's get the world's greatest undergrad to relay her opinions on the choosing of the mission. So Sarah, how do you feel?
I don't know. At first I was like, oh, that's cool. I wonder what else the proposals were. And I was like, oh man, like Io and like Triton, dang, that would have been so cool. But realistically, I think, are you gonna include the meme that I sent you earlier? I was like,
Oh,
oh,
the
maybe,
meme is going in there.
yeah, because I was like, ah, wow. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I have tunnel vision for this right here. Like, this is all I ever really think about in my free time. Um, so I guess all of my like I don't know, sadness, that's not the right word, that's too strong a word, about like them not picking either of the moons was like, it was solely based off of my like, I don't know, unnoticed, hang on, what's the word I'm thinking of here? Unconscious, I guess, emotional attachment to the moons that got tested on the solar system test for Science Olympiad in 7th grade. Um, but it's really cool. People are really, really excited about it. And it's always fun seeing people's excitement. I guess I also haven't seen any of the moon people on Twitter saying like, oh man, my life is over. So I don't know, but I think, I don't know. I say I have tunnel vision for Mars. More specifically, I have tunnel vision for rovers on Mars. So I don't know anything about like orbiters or landers or things that were supposed to rove, but then kind of squished. It'd be so sad if that ever happens to something I'm working on. Like I will cry. My PI is like convinced they're gonna have to lock me up in like a padded room for a week if something I'm working on crashes, and she's not wrong. Um, yeah. But I don't know. It's interesting concepts. I think it'll also be interesting because there was all of this discussion earlier in the year about like phosphine on Venus or no phosphine on Venus, depending on which papers you read. Interesting to like get more information on the atmospheres. I don't know. That said, like I do service processes stuff, so Trident would have been really cool, I think. Like, oh yeah, it's like a very active surface. It's pretty young, and there might be an ocean. Like that's so cool. So I don't know. I wish they could have funded all four.
Uh-huh. I think if you're like thinking about it from like a surface processes perspective, I think both the Io and Trident missions would have been more interesting. Although I am like interested in the Venus one, but like obviously, like Io, you've got like crazy volcanic activity. I was actually listening to Catherine DeClear at Caltech. She recently did an interview with Lex Friedman, and she's like her specialty is she's in like a planetary scientist. Her specialty is moons stuff. She was talking about Io and like all the interesting things about Io and like the volcanism. And apparently Io is like an interesting insight as to um like how most of the planets were early in their history because of the degree of volcanism that's going on in Io that's obviously non-existent on almost any other like solar system body now. So that would have been interesting. Although I really don't know that much like that large of a community of people interested. I know that interestingly enough though, I saw like 2 days before that someone um I feel like his name is like James Tuttle Keen. I'm blanking on this guy's name, something like that. He just released a paper that was like a review of all their observations of Io for the last year about the like surface processing stuff. So I thought that was interesting. I only like skimmed it a little. And then the same for, I mean, Triton, I'm not gonna lie, like Enceladus behind me, like I'm a icy moon boy, and no icy moon makes me sad. So I like Triton. That's all one of my other most favorite solar system objects. But the Venus thing is actually really interesting. Like getting, I mean, just how little we know about the geology of Venus is really like because of the fact of the atmosphere. Like, and Venus is off. I know in a lot of ways, it's like I get this idea that like from these missions we'll get like a really interesting idea. I know people like one of the things that people say about planetary science in general is like getting a better idea of like the evolution of like planetary bodies like as a whole, and like that's something we can get from studying Venus, a planet that's like you know Earth like size Earth, like you could imagine it being very much Earth like the divergence between it and Earth is probably shocking. I think if I like saw two exoplanets just like and you couldn't tell anything about their atmospheres or anything, you just looked at the distance and the size and they were that close in size, I would assume that they were a lot alike. And so I would assume that Earth and Venus would be a lot more alike than they actually are. So I think it's really interesting to like get an idea of like an understanding of like what changed that. It's like two siblings and like they grow up to be very different people, and you're like, why?
Um, it's kind of like me and I have a twin sister, and she's like a music and econ major who does a lot of cardio, and I'm like, I can't believe we're related.
I hate
You,
cardio. I hate cardio.
anyway, how are you a track and field athlete? And you hate doing.
First of all, yes. Okay, here's your explanation for how I was a track and field athlete, and the reason why I tell everyone this: I was gifted with speed. I never ran long distances ever. The longest race I ever ran was the 400 meters, which is one lap around the track. So I would never run long because why would I? I was I was given a gift and I would not squander it. Um, but yes, I'm not the biggest fan of running as a general, but it might be because it destroyed my legs permanently.
Yikes.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunate. You know what else is destroyed permanently? Life on Mars. Boom. That was a hot take right there. I think it's gone. Actually, I
I
hope
mean,
we find it.
no. I don't know.
And
Something that I
oh
don't know where
no, continue.
you go.
Um, I was thinking that something that was interesting was uh the phosphine thing, like the phosphine papers. Like, like those like something I really love is history. And like history is weird in this like the way like serendipitous events will like affect the future or something. And like the history of science is no different. And like I'm so interested like as to how like that phosphine paper might like, no one will ever admit it, right? But how much did that phosphine paper play a role in like the deciding of these missions and like the phosphine paper and obviously the subsequent arguments back and forth? Like, what if that like literally changes the face or like the direction of planetary um, research in like the next decade, or maybe changes it for the next century? Like like what if like I'm just thinking like in like grand terms, like just think about like the end members or something. Oh, for geologists right there, mineralogists. Um, like you could think about like imagine we find life on Venus like in the clouds, and it was just because of that paper like led to these missions, and like they would have not been chosen. Or like imagine that you could imagine the other way, that these missions like are completely unsuccessful and hopefully not, but you could imagine that they are, and like they were influenced by like the results of one group. So I guess maybe that I just think that's interesting, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I don't know, I feel like for Venus though, like success is like if it sends back data, you won. Like, I don't know. I know for oh man, which one is it? Yeah, for Da Vinci Plus, like they're sending all the instruments down in the probe in like a sphere, like a probe droid from Star Wars, a little bit. Because like anything else and it'll get squished really fast. And as is, this will probably only get squished pretty fast. Like, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It's things like these that make me realize how spoiled I am that I just like kind of tripped and fell into studying Mars. Cause like we get a lot of data. Like we always have stuff that's sending information back. But then like I follow somebody on Twitter who studies Pluto and she's like, yeah, New Horizons, that's all we got. And there might be something else, I don't know. But like people who study things that aren't Earth and Mars and also the moon get so little, you know?
Uh-huh. They just have to just sit and like be astronomers,
Yeah, look at the
basically.
data for
Like you can't be a
whatever we set in the 90s.
uh-huh. Like I think like the Pluto people, it's literally New Horizons and then Voyager. The like I think Voyager 2 took like a couple pictures, but like any good data is New Horizons. So it's like basically you're just an astronomer. Like and uh, you know, astronomers, arrow sign, all less than science geologists. Um, and so, I feel like it's Mars is cool in that way. That is something like I was never like, now I'm in Mars research. And I think it's partly because I'm like, hey, like you can actually answer questions about this stuff like in a fairly reasonable time frame. And like as someone who has like interest in like like biology questions as well. Like, like as a lean, it's like there's much more to be asked. Even though I don't think Mars is actually the best place to be looking for life, it's like just the ease of in which we are capable of like doing science on Mars makes it far like, there's nothing on the moon. Um, and like Mars is the only chance we really, in a lot of ways, well, not the only chance, but like in reasonable time frames. Other things are going to be like you get the one-off chance, or maybe like I know for me, and this is sort of branching into my like other ideas or my other thought is like Europa Clipper is my favorite mission. Um, and that's like my dream is to like be involved in that mission because not surprisingly, Europa and Enceladus are my favorite bodies in the solar system. And so it's like the chance to study those. Although I thought the Europa Clipper was like dead because of this, but it seems like it's still set for 2024, hopefully. Um, I can't tell.
Isn't it
I look,
like, yeah, it's like a large strategic science mission. I thought those were like they didn't interact. Granted, I know very little about how NASA actually operates.
yeah, me too.
If you
I know
get
nothing,
on,
which makes this better.
hang on, yeah, flagship missions are not under the purview of any larger flagship program, unlike, for example, Discovery class missions that are under the purview of the Discovery program. That's from
Okay.
Wikipedia. So I think they're probably, I don't
Yeah,
know,
I
Europa
saw
Clipper
it.
looks really cool.
Yeah, it's still set for
It's so
2024. And I know some people who do like crazy engineering for it. Some people at Georgia Tech. Why am I forgetting her name? But uh, she does like amazing work
cool.
on about Europa Clipper. No, not Jen Glass. Jen Glass does do amazing work, but there's like a lady who does. She's actually like the PI for like one of these robot things. I'm gonna look her name up right now because she deserves a shout out because she does really cool stuff. Um, but yeah, did you have like any sort of thoughts about like, well, I mean, if you have thoughts about like the Europa Clipper as well, but also just in general about um, like, do you think like this is gonna like shape your decision making about like grad school and things like that and like career research, or you just, I mean, you have Mars and like, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I really, really like Mars. I don't know. And I feel like at this point I'm so used to like having like huge data sets from multiple instruments that cover a long time frame. So I feel like I don't know. I've like ruined myself for life on other things. But I think it'll be interesting to see like something honestly that drew me to planetary geology at first and then like still amazes me is just how creative everybody is. Like it's just so wild to me. They're like, oh yeah, we have like this tiny set of observations, but then if we like I don't know, look at them like in context with this other set of observations, we can figure out like all this other stuff, or like, oh, like we know this and this, so we can find like some terrestrial analog. It's just so cool to me. So I feel like I don't know, it'll be inspirational, I think, for me to see like what people come up with the limited data sets that we're going to get from these missions. But yeah, I think I'm probably pretty stuck on Mars. I like Mars. The sand is,
No, no, the sand is cool, even though the dust is always blocking
oh man, the
good good laser blasts, and the dust is always in the way. No, it's Brittany Schmidt is her name, by the way. She does amazing cool stuff. She's like ice dynamics and stuff. Um, but she's a Georgia Tech professor, and she like I don't know how people, like you said, people do amazing stuff. I don't know how they're like geologists and also like mission designers and also like it's it's amazing to me that people can like do all of those things
yeah.
at once when I can't do one thing right.
No, I saw some people on Twitter earlier that were like, oh yeah, like something like remember like our spaceship design class. I'm like, what? Like that's or spacecraft, not spaceship. But like I know there's like Purdue and at least one or two other places have entire classes about like designing spacecraft. And that's just so wild to me, but it feels like that would be such an interesting and important class to take. But alas, right. I'm the only
Yeah, no,
technology person in my year. So probably won't get one.
yeah. There's a couple schools that like do like well Okay, let me plug. I'm not a Georgia Tech grad student, so, but I'm gonna plug Georgia Tech right now, in that they do have like this like graduate astrobiology. Um, I don't know what it's not a degree, but it's like a certificate. That's what it's called. They have like a certificate in astrobiology and it includes a mission design program, and it involves um all the professors. They have a lot of professors there. I mean, Chen Glass, Brittany Schmidt, um, Francis Rivera Hernandez, all people who are involved in like planetary stuff. So like they have like a whole thing about it. I know Caltech does an astrobiology summer course. I don't know if they always host it, but there is one. And I always think that like stuff like that is really cool because um it's like another one of those things that like you don't ever learn, or like you don't, there's no like formal education for most people as to how to get into that part. Like, like writing my first proposal, I was like, there's no proposal writing class in undergrad, but like when you're supposed to be able, like, if you're writing your GRFP as a senior, that's like you just get thrown into it. And then like, also I guess you just are expected, not really expected, but like if you want to do this as a career, you should probably be doing it in graduate school, because like how else are you going to get funding as a professional scientist? So like the same for like people who want to work on like planetary missions and stuff. Like, if you want to get involved in like the development of um, missions and instruments and stuff like that, whether that be like from an engineering or science perspective and making it all work, like you have to, where do you get started doing that? I think like people who do those sorts of like programs and stuff, it's really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
there's just
oh,
this stuff makes me realize like how much I don't know about anything. I don't know, like ah, I hmm, I don't know. I'm like kind of like newly into the part of being a scientist where you're like, wow, cool. I now have some vague understanding of the fact that I don't really know anything at all. Um, I feel like there was, like when I started doing research, I was like, I definitely don't know anything. And then it was like, oh, actually, I do know a little bit of stuff. And it's like, just kidding. I actually don't know anything, because like the more you learn, the more questions there are. And I'm always reminded of that. Like this discussion, there's so much stuff I like hadn't thought about like grad school and missions and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much
no,
knowledge in
there's,
one little brain.
it's
That's right.
insane.
That's RAM.
When I listen to people talk, um, like say about Mars stuff, I'm like, why is there so much like they just have so much like knowledge about like literally like 4 Mars missions in their head. And like they're comparing what we're seeing like with Perseverance to what like you were seeing like in Gale. And then I'm like, they're like, we're remember on this in this formation in Gale, on this Sol, and I'm like, how the heck do you remember all of that? I can't even like conceptualize the idea of like having all of that knowledge in my head at once, and like being able to like synthesize it and also like have regular human functions like eating. I think I might have to forget like how to blink or something to do that. Um, at least me, or get like a memory upgrade.
Get like a oh man,
But it seems
yeah, get like a hard drive, but like for your brain. Just like I don't know.
get me a brain external hard drive. Okay, now we're back despite my computer and internet just dying, but we're back. I think we went through everything I wanted to talk about.
I
You
can't
remember,
remember what we were saying.
you were talking about something about
I
feeling
think I
like
was talking
you.
about stuff, and I was like, oh, apparently you get used to doing a lot of stuff, and then your capacity to do a lot of stuff increases. And I'm
I
like,
have
that's I don't know.
I've
Sounds
noticed
reasonable.
that to some degree.
I don't know. Like I know some people that just like do everything, and I'm like, wow, that might be me someday. We'll see.
Certainly, it will be. It will be. And I while my computer was dead, I had the wondrous idea. I have this I'm like starting an interview series. Oh, plug for my interview series. It's gonna start soon. First episode filmed live from Namibia. Um, so filmed live from Namibia. Yes, good job, Josh. But I was like, oh well, I have to have Sarah on, but no, it'll be better than that. There's no one more important in planetary science for me to talk to than Sarah. So I have just officially made this a continuing series called Two Idiots Talk About. So for the people who enjoyed this, welcome to the first episode of Two Idiots Talk About. And Sarah, welcome to being the smartest member of Two Idiots Talk About.
I respectfully disagree. I don't know. I think you might be a little bit smarter.
You got into rice. I'm pretty sure you're
Got
smarter
into
than I am. Connections, baby.
No, you know what? I said to my therapist, I was like, I have a friend who's like ridiculously smart, but his brain will not allow him to think that he's actually smart. And she's like, that's sad. He deserves to feel smart and accomplished because he sounds like he's very smart and accomplished. So you have it from a mental health professional that you deserve to feel smart and accomplished. And I know like it's like talking to a brick wall sometimes, but like eventually maybe something will like slip through the cracks and be like, wow, my ego should be huge. And then your ego will get like a little bit bigger the way it deserves to be.
I have been told before that I am like talking to a brick wall. So I can't think of a better note to leave it on. Wow, I really sounded like Lex Friedman right then. Oh my God. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Sarah. This is gonna this is the first episode of Two Idiots Talk About, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. Yay, Venus.
Yay, Venus. Have fun, Venus people.
Oh, do you have anything else you want to say before I cut the recording?
Um, I don't know. Yeah, Merry
Somebody
Christmas.
once told me the world was gonna roll me. I ain't the smartest tool in the shed. Bye.